So the person, again, I'm going to start with one of the goods. Who has the lowest opportunity cost of producing A? It's this guy. I'm going to circle it. He has the comparative advantage in A, which means just because I took the reciprocals of these to get the opportunity cost of B, if he has the opportunity cost, the comparative advantage in A, he's going to have the comparative advantage in B, right? He's going to have a comparative advantage in the other one, right? This is lower than this, right? This is going to have to be lower than this. So again, as long as their ratios are different, then someone's going to have a comparative advantage in one thing, the other person's going to have the comparative advantage in the other thing, right? So he has the lower opportunity cost of producing B. He's giving up less A whenever he produces B compared to the other guy. So instead of us just consuming by ourselves, right? So remember, without trade, I'm going to be picking some point somewhere on this curve, where I can pick any point I want, and the same thing for this guy. Um, but if I have the opportunity to trade, I'm going to want to produce more of the good that I have the comparative advantage of, and then trade some of that. And the same thing with the other guy. So it'd be better for person two to produce more A than they were going to consume and trade some of it, and have this guy produce more B than they otherwise would have consumed and trade some of it. So that's how we're both going to benefit from trade. And so the next thing we want to do is figure out what trade, or what price, first of all, are we going to be willing to exchange A for B or B for A, right? So there's no money here. We're just trading. This is like a barter system. We're trading A for B at some ratio. So at some price, we want to figure out a trade that's going to be mutually beneficial. It's going to benefit both people. And the way we do that is to pick one good. And so I picked A. So I'm comparing the opportunity cost of A for both of these people. And I'm going to figure out a price in between the opportunity costs. So we have two over here, one over here. So if I go in between them, both people are going to benefit. All right, make sure you understand why that is, because if this guy has a comparative advantage in A, which means he's producing more A in order to trade some of it, right? So when he trades some of his A, he wants to get as much B as possible, right? Well, without trade, he can trade off some of his A right now and get 1B, right? For every 1 unit of A, he can get 1B. So for trade to make him better off, for it to be worthwhile for him to trade, he's going to have to do better than 1B, right? So that's why the trading price for him has to be more than 1. For the person who's selling this good A, it's going to have to be for more than 1B to make him better off. And so he's selling A, which means he's buying A, right, and selling B. And so he's buying some A. Well, right now he can trade off 2 of his B and get 1 unit of A, right? Just move along his own production possibilities curve. That's the opportunity cost, is moving along his curve. So he can do it right now, give up 2 of his B and get 1A. So he's going to need a price that's lower than 2. Right? Well, if I can give up 1.5B to get 1A, well, that's better than I can do on my own. So that's why this price works, right? That's why going in between those opportunity costs works, because one's a seller and one's a buyer, and going in between them makes both of them better off, right? So I went halfway in between. It doesn't necessarily have to be we have this bargaining range between these two prices, between 1 and 2. Could be that one person's really good bargaining and they get it closer to what they want. This guy wants that price to be as high as possible. He wants it to be as low as possible. There's some range there. We could just go in the middle. It doesn't really matter. I'll usually pick the good that has whole numbers just to make it easier. So I could have done the same thing and just do it in terms of B, and I just have to go between 1/2 and 1. Obviously it's pretty easy to do, but I'll just pick the whole number and just go in between them. So as long as it's in between those opportunity costs, it's going to be mutually beneficial. So once we have that price of A in terms of B, or price of B in terms of A, we can make a trade. And again, I'm just making up numbers here because I would have no information about how much they want to trade, these two goods, unless I'm given that. But I can determine, the range of what that price is going to be. So just making up some trade, it's going to have to be at this ratio. So I just multiplied it by 6 to get the trade, just to make it work out on our graphs here. So the trade is going to be the person who's selling A is gonna sell 6A for 9B, and so he's buying A in exchange for buying 6A in exchange for 9B. So that's the trade we're going to make. It's at this price, right? So I just said let's do this 6 times so that it works out this way. So just to show what it would look like on the graph, so suppose that person one over here is going to completely specialize in B in terms of his production, and go all the way over here. So if he was just consuming himself, he would maybe be more towards the middle because he likes both A and B. But if he's going to be able to specialize in trade, I can go ahead and spend all my time producing B, where I have this comparative advantage. I'm relatively better at producing B. I'm absolutely better at both, but I'm relatively better at producing B, so it's better to spend more of my time producing B. Let me produce 20, then I'm going to trade 9 of them in exchange for 6A. And what that does, if we look at where that takes me, I'm going to have 9B over here in exchange for 6A, which puts me up here. So trade allowed me to go outside of my PPF, right? If I was just producing for myself, again, even though this guy had the absolute advantage in both, I can do better by specializing in trading and get to this point. And if we do the other side of that trade, this guy is now specializing over here where he has a comparative advantage. We're going to trade some of that A. We're going to trade 6 of them, 6 units, in exchange for 9B. That gets me out to here. So again, he's able to get outside of his PPF. And so maybe this guy just really likes B and was willing to give up a lot of A, but so as long as he's voluntarily making this trade, then we assume he's better off because he was able to do better than if he was just not trading. Not trading, I can be anywhere here, now I can be here. So if he voluntarily chose that point, then he was willing to give up a lot of his A because the ratio was better than he could have achieved before, and it gets him out here. So trade allows you to get outside of your production possibilities frontier in terms of consumption, right? It can still only produce here on my curve, but trading allows me to consume more than I could have before, because between the two of us we are more efficiently using our resources, right? It's better to be using more resources over here to produce B and over here to produce A, and then sort of divvy up that extra surplus between us by trading, rather than this guy choosing to be here and this guy choosing to be here or something before a trade. We can better use our combined resources by specializing, and then trading. So that's the magic of trade.